Individual preference, or external bias, reflects prejudices and preferences for some opinions rather than others and can result from factors such as partisanship, media exposure, truth-seeking, political ideologies, traditions, and so on. In the presence of high social pressure or low preference, some individuals may falsify their preference by choosing their unpreferred opinion. Conversely, if the preference is high enough or the social pressure is low, the individual will choose his preferred opinion. Each individual's opinion is represented by a binary variable. At each step of the dynamics, one selected individual interacts with one of his neighbors, randomly chosen. If the neighbor has a different opinion, the agent adopts his opinion with a probability that depends on and reflects his individual preference. In the image, which explains the dynamics of the so-called voter model with preferences, the preferences are represented as exclamation points over the selected agent. We consider two disjoint groups of people with conflicting preferences of different intensities. The preferences are homogeneous within the groups. Thus, the parameters of the model will be the two preference intensities H1 and H2, and alpha, which is the fraction of individuals of the first population over the total number of individuals in the system. Assuming a fully connected network of interactions, we derive the evolution of the fraction of individuals of the first population currently choosing +1 opinion, which we call rho 1. Same for the second population. In the fully connected case, Masuda and Redner have found that there are always two fixed points of the evolution, consensus at plus and minus opinions. For some ranges of parameters, another state appears, which is polarized in the sense that the two groups are distant in terms of average opinion. When it is present, the polarized state is the only stable state of the system. A phase transition has occurred. Citing a recent paper by the philosopher Nguyen, an epistemic bubble is a social epistemic structure which has inadequate coverage through a process of exclusion by omission. Our representation of two epistemic bubbles is a stochastic block model, where a connection between two individuals with the same preference has a higher probability of being drawn compared to one between two individuals with conflicting preferences. We define two structural parameters, gamma 1 and gamma 2, which represent the inverse of the level of segregation of the communities. Even in this modular network, we can write the evolution equations concisely. As before, we are interested in the level of polarization of the system after relaxation, which corresponds to the stable fixed points of the equation within our mean field approximation. As expected, we find that the modular structure generally increases the level of polarization. It also widens the polarization region, as can be seen in the figures for symmetric communities. For specific values of the structural parameters, the level of polarization is shown in the H1-H2 plane. The level of polarization scales from dark blue, corresponding to zero polarization or the consensus state, to dark red, corresponding to the state in which every agent chooses their preferred opinion. We can analytically derive the transition lines from consensus to polarization, as depicted in the figure on the left. By studying the transition lines of the mean field approximation, we can deduce that when one population is highly committed and the other poorly, the success of the very committed one in imposing its preferred opinion largely depends on the level of segregation of the other population, while the dependency on its own topological structure is negligible. This claim is also supported by numerical simulations. Finally, we simulate the model on real graphs to assess if the mean field predictions match the numerical simulations in terms of the level of polarization of the relaxing state. Do you want to show your research progress to more scholars? Contribute an entry that will be linked to your paper on the encyclopedia platform, providing an opportunity for over 35,000 scholars to access and explore your research. Have you ever tried to show your latest research in a vivid way? Encyclopedia SciPlayer provides a service with which you can transfer your research to a live video format. Do you want to publish a new paper? Encyclopedia has an international, peer-reviewed, and open-access journal. Do you require a discount when you publish research in journals? Anyone who contributes to Encyclopedia can obtain vouchers for MDPI Journal's article processing charges. Encyclopedia aims to create an open-access knowledge-sharing platform for all scholars. To find more information, search for encyclopedia.pub.